Thank you. This is a bit tangential to my fellowship, but it's something that I've been struggling with a bit, so I thought it was a good issue to bring up. So historically in Australia, the honours degree has been the preferred pathway to higher education degrees, or degrees by research, and this has come very much from the Scottish higher education system. So honours has been viewed as providing a transitional space between undergraduate coursework and higher degrees by research. And for many students, honours provides the first opportunity to actually design, conduct, analyse and write up research. While it has been considered the gold standard, especially at Group of 8 universities, this is starting to become challenged. So with my own research as part of my dissertation, I certainly found that honours students, supervisors and coordinators still all feel that honours provides them with good training for further research, that guidance and supervision by the supervisors aids in the development of their research skills, the internalising of research identities, and provides a strong foundation for further studies. However, I also found that the majority of honours students I spoke to had no plans to go on to higher degrees by research. So perhaps now, more than a century after its introduction, the role of honours as the primary pathway between undergraduate and postgraduate research, it's under threat and perhaps needs to be re-examined. Moves to align Australian higher education with international models is placing more emphasis on masters by research as the pathway to PhD, but at the same time, and right at the other end of the spectrum, we've got masters by coursework also providing a pathway to a PhD. So with these competitors in the field, is there still a continuing role for honours in Australian higher education? One of the key metrics of interest we might want to look at is how many students go on from honours to higher education. And based on the Graduate Destination Survey, only about 1/4 of honours graduates are engaged full-time in higher education the year following their honours degree. If we look at it round the other way, only 1 in 5 students engaged in a higher education degree by research were enrolled in honours in the previous year. So really we've got this stage now where honours is not the main pathway to a PhD, although certainly some students go away and work for a while and then come back and do their PhD. So what we used to think of as the traditional route of a student going straight from school to an undergraduate degree, completing honours and a PhD full time, is now a rarity rather than the norm. So let's look at these alternative pathways. Firstly, masters by research. Internationally, it's now very much a requirement to have completed a masters by research before going on to a PhD. And some Australian universities, including Macquarie, University of Western Australia and University of Melbourne, have already restructured their degrees to fit within this model. So largely mirroring the Bolognian model of 3 years undergraduate training, 2 years masters by research and a 3-year PhD. This provides advantage to the students in terms of international recognition and also international portability. What about the masters by coursework? An issue here of concern is the level of research training provided. It's only recently with the Australian Qualifications Framework that masters by coursework degrees had to have any research component to them. And my understanding from looking across a range of masters is that the amount of research training in them varies widely. Margaret Kiley's work in this area indicates that masters by coursework students view their degree as adequate preparation for a PhD, but supervisors and coordinators are less sure. So some of them view coursework masters as a terminal degree rather than a transitional degree, and some feel that it's only the very good masters by coursework students who are suitable to go on to complete a PhD. So the existence of these multiple pathways to doctoral studies raises questions about the equivalence of research training provided by each and which is suitable training or background for a student to go on and complete a PhD. How are universities going to cope with these students coming in with widely varying levels of research skills? So my question to you is there a continuing role for honours in Australian higher education? Thank you.
Thank you. That's great.